it's Lynn with Littlefoot Nursery. So I wanted to actually make this video. I'm going to have a bit of a more serious chat with you guys. It was something that I wanted to share that's deeply personal to me, and I hesitated for a long time in doing so. But I was inspired by some recent videos I watched. There's a video posted by Carolyn from Canadian Reborn Mama One that was just very vulnerable. I think the title of the video was something along the lines of "The Real Reason Why I Collect." And it really got very personal about some challenging things she experienced in her own life, and how collecting these reborn babies have been have been a real help to her. And so I wanted to talk about this a little bit. So I was partly prompted and inspired by that, but also, I wanted to, kind of speak out a little bit in response to the video that you guys saw about a week ago, where my daughter was on the video with me, my daughter Audrey, and we just filmed kind of a fun video where it just started off with her wanting to visit silicone baby Olivia, and she was holding her and kind of playing with her, and then it turned into her showing showing people around the room and kind of the some of the other dolls in my collection. So it was a fun video, super silly, and and the like 95% of the comments I got were so nice and so positive and so sweet. But there was this one troll, and a lot of you guys probably didn't even see these comments because I caught it pretty early on. It was maybe the video had been posted just a few hours, and this troll was just saying some really nasty and mean things. And I did delete and block and report those comments. And so, first of all, just a general comment about that. I just will never understand, people who have nothing better to do with their time than go around, being negative and rude and vicious. I just will never understand that. But it did prompt me to, decide to make this video as well, to share some things that will hopefully make it a little bit easier to understand. You know, uh, just some things that are challenging, for Audrey and also for my son, Ethan. I have two kids. As you guys know, my daughter Audrey is 6, and my son Ethan is 3. And what you guys don't know, or maybe some of you guys may have guessed, or or maybe had some sense of, or not, is both of my kids are on the autism spectrum. They both have an autism diagnosis, and this is something that has been a real challenge and struggle for our family for the last few years. And the reason I wanted to share that is because one of the comments, that really rude comment that I got, was somebody basically making fun of Audrey's speech and the way that she talks, and saying something to the effect of, why don't you spend money on speech therapy for her instead of buying these expensive dolls? and wow, that is just, there was one other very nice viewer who sort of jumped in to say, hey, that's not okay for you to say that. That's really inappropriate and it's mean, and things like that, which I really appreciate. I ended up deleting that comment, and it didn't. It's not something that you guys will see if you pull up that video. But yeah, and then one of my friends messaged me, and she was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that they said that, and let me know if you want me to respond, and things like that. So but yes, both my kids have autism. It is not something I'm like out there actively trying to hide or anything like that, but I also don't, feel, the need to draw attention to it necessarily, not because I'm ashamed, or, that our family's ashamed that they have autism, but it's just something that I feel like when you have a label and you have a diagnosis, there are some people, and I think most people would go, oh, okay, well, and be very sympathetic to some of the challenges and struggles you go through having having something like that, or any sort of disability, in fact. And then there are others who, would see it as an opportunity to be, even more cruel or even more mean. And there are just some really mean and nasty people out there, is what I'm learning. So it wasn't like I was trying to, hide the fact, but, I did want to share it with you guys because I know a lot of you guys who watch my videos, you guys have seen some of my kids on video, and you've seen some of the things we've done as a family, and just seeing me talk about different topics and showing off my dolls, and just sharing things with you guys. Like, I love to share, when I get a new baby, I love to talk about different things. I love to show you guys some of the things that I bought, and it's just fun. I mean, this is like the community social aspect of the hobby, which is so much fun. It makes it more fun to do that versus just being, collecting in private and not interacting at all. Because, I used to do that. I used to collect in private, and then I would just kind of read the doll forums and watch some YouTube videos, but I never interacted. And there may be a lot of you guys out there who watch videos and, you fall in that category, like I once did. But it was something that I felt like after seeing that video that maybe I should at least hop on and make a video to explain, because a lot of people, and this may also be something that can raise and increase awareness, for those of you guys who are not very familiar with autism and familiar with, when people have autism, what does that mean, and, what do they struggle with specifically. So for Audrey, so a little bit of the backstory, but to answer that person's question, or if that was even a question, but to respond to that comment, yes, my daughter Audrey is in speech therapy. She's in speech therapy every week. She gets it through school, and she also goes to private speech therapy as well. And so, yes, it is something that we are aware of and we're actively working on. And I realize she doesn't speak perfectly. I think there are a lot of kids who don't, and she's incredibly smart, though. She's a whiz at math, and just so you know, she has worked, I'm so proud of her. She has worked incredibly hard the past 3 years. We found out about her diagnosis shortly before her third birthday. It was right around the time that she turned 3 that we found out, because she had seemed to be developing fairly normally up until that point. She was speaking, she hit all her milestones, but we started to notice something around age 2.5, that, just her response to things, like, first of all, she wasn't very social with other kids, so we noticed that first, and then we also, and so one of her Sunday school teachers at church brought that up to us, and then she would do this thing where, when she got really like frustrated, she would have her tantrums like a lot of 2-year-olds do, but she would, look at her hand and scream, and and she would get really frustrated like that. And then when she started preschool, it was her first time in kind of more of a group school environment. Her preschool teachers noticed that she had issues, like, there were just a few different things that they noticed that she was, behind her peers. And so they recommended that we get her assessed. And I put myself back 3 years, and that was just such a difficult time. So anyway, we went through the assessment process and then found out that she was diagnosed with autism. And, she was considered higher functioning because she is verbal, and she, had been verbal since, the age of 1. But, there were just certain things, like she wouldn't do very much pretend play. At that age, kids do a lot of pretend play. She wouldn't be very good about making eye contact. And she just wasn't all that social with other kids. And I think just had and she had a lot of sensory needs, some trouble with like self-regulation. I don't need to go into all of it, but all that to say, she does have a diagnosis. The past 3 years, we have had her enrolled in all sorts of therapies. She has ABA therapy, which is basically an in-home behavioral therapy where a therapist comes to your house, for 2.5 hours a day. She would have this 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. She had speech therapy, occupational therapy, and she also goes to this like social skills group. So she does so many different things, you guys. Her schedule is literally packed. And she was going to the preschool that we had her in at the time she was diagnosed was just a regular general ed preschool, but they felt like she needed some additional supports, so we had a support person going there, and then she also started splitting her time between that preschool and the special ed preschool. And then eventually she just the following year she just went to the special ed preschool full time, but just made significant strides, significant progress. And then we were able to actually get her into mainstream kindergarten this fall, which is such a huge thing, and we didn't even know if that would ever be a possibility. Those of you guys who may have met her at the doll show, or may have seen her on some of the videos, you can tell just how bubbly and how social she is. She's a very loving and sweet little girl. She's a lot of fun. And honestly, guys, I'm going to try not to cry, but it's really hard. It's so hard to see her struggle sometimes. And when she says or does things where I'm like, ooh, maybe that's not the most appropriate thing to say or do, in that moment, I feel really sad, like, I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know whether, she will be able to pick up those social cues, in the future. So I share this not because I want anyone to feel sorry for me or feel sorry for her or our family, but just to say, you never know what someone goes through. And I really, my doll collection is my happy place. This is something I truly enjoy. And I rediscovered my passion for these dolls, really in the last year. And yeah, and I feel like, it's, when I'm here with you guys, like I want to be my happy self, and I want to be in a good place, and I want to spread joy, and I want to spread love. I really do. And I want to really enjoy this hobby with others, who also enjoy this hobby. So but anyway, but I did want to share that because I know that it's something that, and I know probably many of you guys out there watching this can relate. You may struggle with, autism or another disability yourself, or you may be close to somebody who does, or likely know somebody who does. But it's a very difficult thing. I can't even tell you guys. And so, but yeah, she's made so many strides. I'm incredibly proud of her. I think her icon, like the way that she engages now, she didn't do this even a year or two ago. She's just grown by leaps and bounds. I just can't even express to you guys how proud I am of her. And if anybody, and I do worry about, just in general, putting my children on YouTube and things like that. I know there are a lot of people who do, and but I think one of my biggest fears is really opening her up to that kind of bullying and meanness. Although I will say, for that one mean troll who made those comments, I got so many effusively nice comments about, her and her video and how funny she is and how cute she was. And thank you guys so much for saying those things. It just really warmed my heart more than you can even realize. And I didn't share any of the comments, of course, with Audrey, but I did share it with my husband, and he thought, at some point you might want to share with your viewers about it, because just to raise awareness, and just so people can kind of maybe come from a place of greater understanding, about so if you next time, if you see somebody and they're not acting and talking the way that you do, or you feel like something is off with them, or maybe it's even somebody who's mentally ill, perhaps in our own community, who knows, right? It could be a lot of different things. We all struggle with different things. Just take a moment and try to, first of all, count your blessings for everything that you are able to do, and to realize that not everybody is born with those same gifts, because it is a gift to just be able to talk, to be able to see. I've been so humbled because one of my customers who purchased one of my reborn babies recently, she's blind, and I'm so humbled, because it's like, that must be so difficult, you know to have that as a disability. It's so, and I apologize, guys, if I'm not using the politically correct terms. I don't know if I should say visually impaired. I don't know, but I'm just kind of speaking from the heart here. But just to say, like, and as hard as I feel like we sometimes have it, because a lot of people have one kid who might be on the spectrum, but very few families have two. So that just brings me to my son, Ethan. Ethan is, he is growing and in his own right, but he is 3 years old and he does not speak. Okay, he is nonverbal. We caught him, we realized pretty early on with him, just because we were a lot more vigilant, given the situation with Audrey. We realized that when he was about one, that he was not hitting certain milestones. And so we got him assessed really early. He's been receiving early intervention services from Regional Center since he was maybe 12 or 13 months. And for those of you guys who don't know, the Regional Center is a government agency. And I think they do a lot of different things, but they do a lot of work with kids with autism, and they provide services up until the age of 3, and then even after age 3, they provide some services that are, some of which are paid for, and paid for by the state, some of which are supplemented, but you are assigned a caseworker. And I believe this person is, stays with your child even as they grow up too, and when they're an adult, because I think there are a lot of kids who who are on who sorry, some kids who have autism are able to grow up and go to college, hold jobs, get married, have friends, and those are just literally just some basic things that I think some of us take for granted that we're able to do. But anyway, you have a caseworker who's assigned to you, and kind of meet with on a regular basis. So my son was diagnosed at the age of 2. And so he's now three and a half, about, almost. And he's been also in the same array of therapies that Audrey has, the ABA therapy for 2+ hours a day, speech therapy, occupational therapy. He's in a special ed preschool. He's so yeah, he receives a lot of services, and each day, like, I pray for him. Like, I really, like, I just and it's so hard because it feels like he's starting at a with fewer skills than Audrey had at the same age. And so I can't even imagine him being potentially ready for kindergarten in 2 years. He's not even speaking. He's saying like a few words, like here and there, like, or he'll try, like sometimes I'll hear him say dada, or hear him say, like, today we were taking one of those little Lego people and having him go up the stairs, and I was saying up, 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 and then he said so he was trying to imitate that. But anyway, so he's so he has his own slew of therapies, and so both of our kids are so busy. And as you can imagine, this is a huge strain, on any family, on any relationship. My husband is such a trooper. I work full time, but my husband, he used to be a math teacher, and he had to quit his job because we needed somebody to stay home with the kids full time, in order to manage their therapy schedule, in order to be involved and participating in the therapies. And so, so that's my husband's job now. He is basically like, I feel like he almost has the skills to be a licensed therapist himself in some respects now, because he's been so involved in supporting the therapies. I've been very fortunate. I work full time, but I do get to work from home. In my job, I've been with my company for a long time, and I do travel for work sometimes, as you guys have seen, and I'm in sales. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys, because just to help people to come just to have a better understanding about my kids and my family and, kind of our situation. And so, but yeah, it's not something that I want to spend lots of time dwelling on all my videos, because I really do see my hobby as it's kind of my escape from all of that. Like, and one of the things that I was encouraged to do along with my husband is to each really find a hobby that we can enjoy, something that is all our own, that kind of takes us away from whatever stresses and strains that come from being a parent to two special needs kids. Um, and you guys, believe me, I know I am so lucky and I'm so fortunate. I know there are some of you guys watching this video whose hearts are breaking because you may not be able to have children, and you would love to have any child, any child at all. And I look, I completely get that. And I guess I would just say for all of us, we all have areas, and we all have blessings and things that we, should be thankful for. But we also all have, areas of pain and hurt, and areas that, maybe we wish our lives were different somehow than what they are today. Um, I know for me, having faith has been a huge part for me to be able to deal with some of these challenges. And I don't know where I'd be if I didn't have my faith. And so that's extremely important to me and has gotten me through a lot. And I'm not even going to go into like any tough stuff from childhood or anything like that, because I do think for the most part I've been very blessed. I'll just talk about kind of some of the more recent things, right, with our family and having two kids with autism. It's hard, you guys. I'm not gonna. There's no other way to put it. It is extremely hard, and it's hard when I'm hanging out with my sisters and my nieces and nephews, and I see, like my 9-month-old niece doing things that my 3-year-old son isn't doing, and yes, you shouldn't compare, but sometimes it's hard not to feel sad and to feel like, oh, I don't know what, how does a typically or neurotypically developing child respond in a situation like that? So anyway, I hope that my sharing this helps, if that troll is watching this video, who, and I hope that they are, and I hope they're watching this and that they feel bad for making that comment, because that was extremely rude and uncalled for. But but I did want to at least share it, just and it's a bit, just showing a little bit of vulnerability here, because this is something that's obviously very deeply personal to me and my family. And but yes, I'm so proud of my kids. They work extremely hard every single day. My husband works very, very hard with them every day too, along with the whole team of therapists that we have. But it is hard. Like, it's hard for us to find babysitting. It's hard to find somebody who can watch the kids and be comfortable, with their needs. I remembered Audrey used to have these 90-minute meltdowns. I kid you not, she would melt down and be inconsolable for 90 minutes, like screaming on the top of her lungs. We once had the neighbor call the police on us because they were like, oh, what's going on? Is everything okay? So it's just things like that are just, that just break your spirit down and are so, so hard. And some of you guys, and I know that there is I know there's a YouTuber out there who does not like me very much, and that's fine. I know we're all different, and we all have different styles and different approaches to things. And maybe I get criticized for being too positive or too nice, or whatever, and and maybe or whatever that might be. But you know, I will just say that, I try to, even when life gets hard sometimes, you can find joy. You really can. And it's all about, it's not, your joy shouldn't be dependent on your circumstances, but it's really how you view your circumstances. And happiness is your choice. It's something that you can choose for every day. And I know that's much easier said than done, but ultimately, I could sit and wall up in a ball and feel sorry for myself and, come across as, bitter and depressed all the time and things like that. And because and believe me, I have those moments myself. And there was a moment when we, when over the weekend when my son had a meltdown, and I just felt like tearing my hair out, and so yeah, we have those moments, and it's hard. But for me, the reason, and I'm going to loop this back to reborns in terms of how collecting has helped me, and it was so interesting because when I got Isla, who is my Emery May prototype, and then later on got Melina later on in the same year, who, and this is Aria. She's the Melina sculpt by Andrea Arcello. Having these two babies come to me at a time when we were right in the thick of dealing with my daughter's diagnosis was such a comfort. And I at that point I wasn't really that into collecting because I'd had my daughter, had my son a couple years after that, and I just wasn't thinking about dolls at all. But having these babies come at that time when they did was a huge comfort. And for me, if as I look at Aria, for example, it helps me to remember a time when my daughter was just a newborn baby, very, just totally innocent, just darling and and as perfect as can be, before I knew about anything, before I knew about autism, before I knew about her diagnosis, before we went through the path we've been through the past 3 years, really walking that journey. And I will say, we are in a much better spot today than we were 3 years ago, for sure. That was it was a very difficult time. But and I hope in sharing this video that it really helps to bring awareness. And so yeah, when you see that kid who may be acting a little bit differently than other kids, just try to have some understanding, and there are kids out there who may not have a diagnosis, but they may struggle with certain things. And I think if we can just all have some more gentleness and understanding, with each other, I think the world would be just a much, much better place. And so, but yeah, these dolls have been awesome. It's so nice to have like, they're the perfect baby, right? They don't ever do anything negative. But it's been a comfort. I mean, I've always been a doll lover. But it's been so nice for me, like when things had gotten really stressful with when Audrey would have one of her meltdowns, for example, that I could just pick up Aria or Isla and just hold her, and just enjoy that moment of peace, and holding and cuddling, wonderful piece of art and a remembrance of my daughter as a newborn when when everything was perfect. So anyway, I hope that was okay for me to share with you guys, and hopefully helps you guys to understand me and my family a little bit better. But yeah, thank you guys again for those of you guys who did share such lovely, sweet comments about the video and about Audrey. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for watching my channel. I am so humbled by those of you guys who do watch my videos daily, and some of you guys have shared that you've made it a routine where you have your morning coffee and tune into my latest video, and I so appreciate that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for following us, and following me and my babies and our channel and my family. And I hope you'll keep watching, and I hope that this video helped to explain some things, and also just since we just had Thanksgiving, also just a reminder just for all of us to continue to count our blessings. All right, guys, thank you so much. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.